everyone, and welcome to another episode of GDDV 100, Game Theory 1. My name is Kasanas. Guys, in the last week, we took care of looking at course intro as well as discussing what is game. And that's awesome. This week, we're going to be moving on to the idea of design thinking. All right, let's get started. I think it's really important, and oftentimes students make a mistake whenever they start to design a project, whether it is a game or an experience or what have you. They start with their idea, and their idea is fully formed, and afterwards they just move ahead on that particular idea. And that's really the wrong way to go about any given design. What's important when you are designing something is to actually understand the problem that it is you're trying to solve. If you don't understand the problem, you don't actually have an idea of what you're trying to do. You had an idea of what you wanted to do, but not an idea of what you should be doing and what's going to be attractive to those that you are trying to attract to your particular game or your particular design. Design thinking allows us to look at the underlying issues before we begin our solution. And that's what's really important, really understanding that problem, having a problem statement, understanding what that problem is, and then creating your design. So that's going to bring us to design thinking. What exactly is design thinking? Well, design thinking is a process that allows us to understand the underlying issues with a given issue that's been stated. It encourages us to explore alternative solutions, to brainstorm, and come up with unique ideas that will solve the issue at hand once we've defined that particular issue. Design thinking really takes a human-centric approach. It means we are looking at the underlying people that are using our product. It's not about the product itself, it's about the people who are going to be using our product. That's who we're trying to attract. That's who we're building this for. We're building our game, we're building our design for people. What exactly do they want, and how can we ensure that their experience is the best experience they can have? Design thinking is a 5-step process, and we're going to take a look at each of these steps in detail. Empathize, define the problem, ideate, prototype, and test. And each of these steps are equally important. Let's start off by taking a look at empathize. Empathize means that through observation and through qualitative research, collecting qualitative data, complete immersion within a particular group, that you understand the underlying problems that may exist. It may not always be exactly what it is that you think it is, right? We come up with an idea, we were told something is the case, and by going in and doing full research on that particular idea, we'll really understand what the underlying issue is. Let me give you an example. So let's say someone comes to you and they say that their grandfather is having a hard time moving around, and they'd like you to design a solution that's going to help the grandfather to move about. If you spend time with that grandfather and you find out that as an older person, yes, this person has issues moving around. They require a cane, or they require some type of walker that they're using now to get around, but it's just not working that well. They're still nervous that they might fall down. They're still nervous of these things. And by sitting down and speaking with the person that you're ultimately building this topic for, you may find out that it's not actually what they're actually using this cane or this walker for currently is to meet with friends at the mall. They're socializing in places. They're going to a coffee shop down the street, let's say, and what they're really doing is they're meeting with their friends. And it's all about the socialization. It's not actually about the movement. It's not about moving around as much as the problem is that they want to get to where they're going so that they can socialize. Now, the original problem that it was thought to be was that it was movement. But in reality, the problem is they are using this movement to get to the places they want to go so that they can do something there. They want to socialize. That might lead you to other ideas. How can I help this particular person socialize rather than how can I help them get to where they're going? Neither one of those, they both kind of lead the same way, but understanding that underlying issue, that it's a socialization issue and not actually a movement issue, that's the problem. That's going to lead you to a problem statement. You've diagnosed the issue. You understand now by being involved with the people that you are aiming your design for. You've immersed yourself within their culture, and now you understand what that actual problem is. And once you have that, once you understand the underlying issues, you can create what's called a problem statement. And that problem statement is simply a direct communication of what the underlying issue is. You now have a goal. You are trying to solve a very particular problem. Defining that problem will take you a long way in actually creating a good design. Once you've got that problem statement, you're ready to start thinking about your ideas. That's where Ideate comes in. And Ideate is not grab your first solution and run with it. And again, this is a problem that a lot of students have. A lot of initial designers have, not just students, but a lot of people have. They've got an idea, they already think it's the best idea, and they're going to start working towards it. And again, it might not necessarily be with the full information about what the underlying issue is. It's without having explored other options. The Ideate portion of design thinking is about brainstorming. It's about going through and coming up with different ideas, alternative ideas to an original solution. You're trying to find not the best idea right now, but trying to find all of the ideas you can. Afterwards, you're going to concentrate on certain ones. You'll have broken this down. You'll come up with a whole bunch of different ideas, and you'll break down these problems into ones that are, feasible in some way, some that are too far outside, but you'll end up with a core set of solutions that you might want to take a look at. Now that brings us to the idea of prototyping. Once you've got those best ideas defined, now you can start to work on some of those ideas. And it's not about creating a finished solution. That's not what it's about at this time. It's about creating a prototype of several different ideas and test those out with the people that you're ultimately aiming to help, right? Or ultimately aiming to release your product to. You have to try and solve their issues. And the first idea you have is often not the best idea that you can have. Create yourself several different paper prototypes, a functional project that is testable. It has to be functional and it has to be testable. If those two things are true, you can begin to collect data on which of your prototypes is the best solution or the best solution that you've got at that particular time. And you can start to build on that idea. And that brings us to the idea of testing. After you've got a prototype, you must go out and you must test to make sure that your idea is actually working the way you think it's going to be. You're going to have to do this through direct observation by having people play your game or test your solution. They're going to give you feedback, which you will collect, and you are going to then take those ideas and see where your design has fallen short. Testing is not about trying to justify your particular design. That's not what it's about at all. You are going there to see if your design is accurate and working well for your stated problem. That's what you're trying to do. You've got a problem statement, you've got some prototypes now, you're collecting the data to make sure that you've actually solved that problem. If people come back to you and they say, no, this is not working. If you've created a game, they're saying, no, I don't like your controls, or I don't understand why I'm jumping here, or I never use this particular mechanic. It's not about justifying why. You're not going to say, well, that mechanic's there because I like it for this reason. It's about having your audience tell you what they like. And then you're going to change. You're going to change your prototype. You're going to go back to the drawing board and you're going to change your prototype and you're going to rethink this idea. Rapid prototyping is an iterative process. That means that you're going to go through and you're going to build several prototypes and several testing. You're going to go through it over and over and over again, several ideas very, very quickly until you really narrow into the working and final solution. Really what we've got here is we've got a loop, right? We're going to go back on ourselves. It starts with Ideate. You've got yourself and the ideas. It moves into prototype. You're going to build those ideas out, or your best ideas. Then you're going to test those best ideas, and when those tests come back and you've got your data, you're going to go back to the ideation phase. You have to go back and work through the data and try and rebuild the problem, like rebuild where you went wrong. So you've identified the problem, you've created your prototypes, and you've tested it. Is that all you have to do? Probably not. There are a couple other considerations that you have to think through before you come up with your final solution. And this is probably something that should be done maybe before, when you're not working on your finished product yet. You're at the prototyping phase. You've got several different prototypes that have all worked. You've got feedback for all those different prototypes. It's now time to see whether or not this is going to fit your particular idea or solve your stated problem. Something to consider. Is it feasible? Is the technology easily available, or something you have to create from scratch? Does technology exist? If it doesn't, you'll have to go through and try and come up with the technology before you can even start this full-scale production. So is it feasible? Is it viable? Does that mean, is it make business sense? Will it be supported by business? Will I have the funds to be able to do this? Is it desirable? Is it human-centric? Have you taken into account the human idea? Have the people that you've talked to said, yes, this is a product that I actually would like to use? The intersection of these different areas will lead to a possible, a usable, and valuable solution. The intersection of these three areas are going to lead to new ideas. So, if it's feasible and viable, then it's absolutely possible to do. But maybe it's not necessarily desirable. So, even if it's feasible and business will support it, if people don't want it, it's probably not going to be used. If it's feasible and it's desirable, well, then it's something that can definitely be usable, right? You can build something that someone is going to use. But if it's not going to fly as far as business is concerned, then again, it's not something that's either possible or valuable, right? They're not going to support it. Lastly, if it's viable and desirable, that's something that's valuable to the particular company that's supporting you, and valuable to the people or the human side of things, where the people you're trying to help. The intersection of all three of these is our area of innovation. In this area of innovation, it's feasible, it's viable, and it's desirable. And at this point here, we've got real innovation. All right, guys, that takes us to the end of the idea of design thinking. I hope that helped you out. Again, a lot of students make the mistake of coming in with an idea, coming in with a solution without understanding the problem. And by taking your time and understanding the underlying problem, it's going to go a long way in making your design attractive. All right, guys, that takes us to the end of this particular video, and I hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know down below with a thumbs up, and if you didn't, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. These types of videos are not for everyone. Some of you have showed up and said, I already have an idea, I just want to make a game. Understanding the underlying design considerations is going to make your game better. Okay, everyone. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone.